Welcome to Defeat Your Cravings, hosted by Dr. Glenn Livingston, PhD. Dr. Glenn is a clinical psychologist and former multi-million-dollar consultant to the big food industry and uses his experience to help you defeat your cravings. This show will help you to focus on dramatically reducing cravings and leaving the diet mentality behind, so you can more easily and effortlessly achieve your health, fitness, and body composition goals. Please remember, no doctor-patient relationship is created via this show, and you are responsible for confirming any changes to your diet, health, or psychological routines with an appropriately licensed professional before implementing them. Before we get started, if you haven't downloaded the free smartphone app to access dozens of these recordings all in one place, as well as to avail yourself of a confidential community for support, motivation, and assistance, please visit the podcast link on defeatyourcravings.com as soon as possible. And now, here's your host, Dr. Glenn Livingston.
Hey, it's the very good Dr. Glenn Livingston at defeatyourcravings.com. And I am here with Marissa, who has agreed that we could share her session so that you can benefit from her experience and strength and hope and wisdom, as well as her trials and tribulations and stumbles and falls. Right, Marissa?
Yes. Thank you so much for having me, Glenn. This is really exciting. I've listened to so many of these episodes.
Oh, you have?
Yeah.
Oh, that's great.
Yeah,
that's
they help
great.
me a lot.
Oh, good. I'm so glad. Well, so give me a little bit about your story and tell me how I can help.
I read your old book and I've listened to a lot of these podcast episodes. I have had a history of binge eating and being overweight for as long as I can remember. I remember being told when I was just 8 years old that I was overweight and that I needed to start watching what I eat. And obviously as an 8-year-old, that's a little hard to understand what exactly I'm doing wrong because it's, as a kid, you're not really doing it to yourself. So at that point, it's the way that you're raised. I'm 28 now. And when I turned 20, I kind of saw the new decade of my life as a chance to unlearn all of the bad habits that my parents unfortunately accidentally instilled in me. And I picked up rock climbing as an activity because going to the regular gym wasn't very engaging for a young person like myself. So a friend got me into rock climbing and long story short, it changed my life. I quit smoking cigarettes. I started eating better, but it wasn't really until about 2 years ago when I found a couple of different binging podcasts. Well, I first had to admit that I had a binge restrict eating disorder, and then I started seeking out that kind of media, and I couldn't find the right therapist for myself to resolve it. So I turned to podcasts, and your podcast was one that I found, and I've listened to so many of these type of episodes, and also your old book. And something in your old book, just everything about it really stuck with me. And I've been recovered for the better part of 2 years now, and I feel so much more stable and aware, and nothing is linear, but I feel like I've kind of beat it, so to speak. Yeah.
Have you seen the new book?
No, I haven't actually. I didn't even know that was the thing.
Oh, it's called Defeat Your Cravings. It's the best of the best. It takes the best of the old books and it kind of summarizes all the latest science and how to overcome the screw it, just do it response. And yes, the best of the best. And it's free for the Kindle. So you can get it at defeatyourcravings.com. Okay. So how can I help you today? You describe yourself as recovered, which is really wonderful to hear. How can I help you today?
I want to take it even further.
Where are you calling from, by the way?
Home in New Jersey, U.S.
Oh, what part of New Jersey?
Northern New Jersey, close to the city.
Like Fort Lee, that area?
Yeah, super close to there. Yeah.
Yeah, I did my dissertation in Fort Lee 35 years ago when I still had all my hair and teeth. Okay. So you want to take it further, but what does that mean to you?
Sometimes I still struggle with knowing what's right and catching myself and falling into the other extreme of restricting. And then I still have these somewhat extreme cycles within a range of wanting to lose weight, but trying not to focus on it too much. I haven't been mentally able to weigh myself in almost a year at this point because it's so triggering, and I try to detach myself from my weight, but also trying to get to my goal weight because I regained some weight and I don't really know why. And I'm just not sure if I'm binging or overeating. Like it's hard to tell sometimes. I used to do it every day, and I obviously don't do that anymore, but sometimes I'm aware of my triggers. Some examples would be like I'm at a party and there's a ton of food. And because it's just available, I try to take as much of it as I can. And then I'm so overfull and then I feel like crap the next day. And that's kind of a lesser version of what I used to go through every day. And so I don't do it habitually anymore, but it still gets me sometimes. And I just feel regretful when I do it. So just like becoming aware of it, like preparing myself for those type of situations where I have access to so much food that I don't go overboard.
Is it mostly social situations?
Yeah.
Have you talked to a dietitian or a doctor to get some objective feedback about where you are weight-wise and whether you're eating enough or too much? Or
Yeah, I have worked with a nutritionist before. Actually, my mother-in-law went to NYU for nutrition, so I was her mock client for one of her classes on weight loss. So she had me track food for a week. I've tracked food myself throughout my 20s. I've done keto, I've been vegan. I've like kind of tried all of the diets that aren't necessarily like programs that somebody sells, the kind of do it yourself diets. So I've done those and I'm borderline between healthy and overweight. But when I first beat my binging, I was so dead center in the middle of healthy BMI. And I know BMI isn't everything, but that was my goal weight. And since then, I've put on 15 pounds and it's kind of stuck around. I just don't understand why. And I've tried to accept that maybe it's my new set weight. Maybe I've put on muscle.
so if I understand you correctly, you don't know exactly where you are. You think you're probably 10 or 15 pounds overweight, and you do know that you'd like to get control over managing parties and social situations.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay. Do you want help to lose your fear of the scale, or are you happy just like trying on some jeans or asking doctors and dietitians and people if you're at a decent weight?
I do usually use my clothes as an indicator. That works pretty well for me. It is a little disappointing when I put something on and it doesn't fit, or two pieces of clothing have fit me before and only one fits now. So that's like a little confusing. So it's like, did my measurements change? Like, where exactly is it going? But yeah, I would like to not fear the scale because I've weighed myself like twice in the last year and it triggers behavior in me after the fact. If I'm happy with the number, then I maybe get a little bit lax and
Your
I
pig wants to celebrate. Yeah.
yeah, and then if it's really high, then I try to convince myself that I'm not upset and, maybe it's just muscle or this is my new set weight, but I don't really accept it.
It's not clear to me that this scale will be good for you or not. There are some people who have been down a road where having another way to measure works better. There's this tribe in Africa where people tie strings around their bellies. And if the string gets a little bit too tight, then they cut back a little bit. And if it gets a little too loose, they eat a little more. There are other ways to go about it. You could see how your clothes fit. You could ask some friends how you look in clothes. Generally, I mean, there are things we can do to try to lose that fear and look at specifically what your pig is saying. It's not 100% clear to me. I just want to say at the outset that the scale will really be good for you. I'm just a little bit hesitant to work really hard at that. If you were coming in telling me, I'm scared of the scale, but I want to use it, then I would jump in and try to help you with that. I'm not sure that's the situation here. I almost wonder if you would adapt better without the scale.
Hmm. It's just that because I'm a rock climber, it's a very strength to weight ratio. What helped me lose the 15 pounds in the first place and stop binging, because the binging was keeping my 15 pounds on, was that all of the climbing gear that I carry weighs 15 pounds. Like it's literally dangling from my harness on my hips. So if I have less to carry up the wall, it's less work for me. But I can understand that maybe I should stay away from the scale. at this point.
Yeah, I mean, there are body fat scales also. I use that because I do power yoga and I'm very athletic. I do a lot. So, I go through periods where I'm more muscular and less muscular, and the scales are not really accurate. There's a lot of inaccuracy, but if you weigh every day, then you can kind of see if you're going up and down. I found that to be modestly helpful. I use what is it? I forget the name of the brand. We can just look it up. They have body fat scales if you really wanted to do that. My judgment would be to work more on the parties and overeating, the social events with you. Okay. So, do you have a rule that would dictate what you should be having at a party? Do you have some type of a portion control or a quality control rule that defines what your bullseye really is for the party?
Yeah. It's just that sometimes I bulldoze it. I just go right through it. Say there's dinner food and then there's dessert food. So for the dinner food, say it's like a buffet setup, I'll put protein on my plate first, a good portion of that. I require a lot of protein. And then I'll put like a modest amount of carbs, say there's like pasta or something. I won't take too much of that, especially if I haven't worked out that day or if I'm not working out the next day. I don't want to intake too many carbs because it's just going to sit around and do nothing. It's not going to get used. And then I do try to volume eat. So if there's vegetables, I'll be the vegetable girl. In my partner's family, I'm the vegetable girl. They buy vegetables just for me. So I definitely fill up on the vegetables. When I cook for myself, I fill the whole pan with vegetables. I'm definitely a volume eater. So I try to fill up on the good stuff. But then when dessert comes around, I'll have an understanding of how full I am. So, say after dinner, I am 90% full. That's a good amount. Leave 10% for dessert. And I'll tell myself, you're only going to have two cookies or one small piece of cake. But I am also known as the person with a sweet tooth. So, when it's my birthday or someone else's birthday, I'm like, there's chocolate or cake or something. They'll be like, no, but you work out so much, take some extra. And then sometimes I am able to take a few bites and then leave the rest over and be like, I'm full. But sometimes the pressure of others is really tough.
I understand there are all kinds of things that are interfering with you complying with the rule, but it sounds like do you have a written rule that says when I'm socializing, I'll have no more than one portion of dessert and my meal will be primarily protein, lots of vegetables, and a modest amount of starch? Do you have that written down someplace? That's what you'd like to do?
Hmm.
Okay. Do we need to define what a modest amount of starch is? Will your pig play with that? Say like a whole bowl of pasta is a modest amount?
I think the sweet tooth is more of a problem than the savory food.
Okay. Really, if you could comply with one portion of dessert, and maybe you have to have a list of examples of what one portion is, but if you could do that, then you'd feel more comfortable in social events.
Yeah, I used to be more strict about it too. Like I worked at this job where it was one of those jobs where people would just leave sweets in the kitchen every day of the week. And then we celebrated every single person's birthday in the company. There were only 20 people, but October, there were a lot of October birthdays. It was really difficult. And I was really good about asserting myself there. That was actually the time when I was first listening to your old book. So I would just walk by the table with sweets on it and say that doesn't align with my goals, and I wouldn't get sucked into it. But somehow over time it slipped away from me.
We're going to address all that. We're going to address all of the reasons that you're blowing through it. I understand that's your concern. I just want to make sure we have a really well-defined target.
No, I guess I haven't defined one serving. Do you think it should be a set amount of bites or like the size of my hand? No, my hand is huge, so maybe not that.
Some people would do it by calories, right? An approximate amount of calories. Maybe your dessert is 300 calories, or I don't know exactly what it would be for your size and activity level. It could be more, it could be less. You said two cookies. You said, is it a scoop of ice cream? I don't know what it would be. I do know that being precise prevents the pig from playing with the definition. I'm much more in favor of really black and white lines. If you need me to help you do that, we could go through them together or you can go through it afterwards. I do think that it's kind of like if you're drawing up a legal contract, you need a couple of case examples so that there's not so much ambiguity. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Should we leave it at one portion of dessert and you'll define what that is later? Or do you want to go through the possibilities?
Yeah, can we break it down?
Let's break it down. Okay. So tell me the things that you might like to have for dessert.
Usually things with chocolate, a chocolate cookie, chocolate cake, pieces of chocolate. I know you've had a history with chocolate.
Oh, yeah. Cookies, cake, pieces of chocolate. Is there anything else you have for dessert?
I've learned to keep healthier dessert options around, and I don't go overboard on those kinds of things, like a protein shake or like a yogurt with berries. Like, I'm not going to have more than one serving of that.
So really, you're overdoing chocolate in social situations. That's the problem.
Yeah.
Okay. Is there any other form of chocolate, cookies, cakes, pieces? In what other form can chocolate come?
No, mostly those things.
Okay. How many cookies is one portion of dessert?
2.
And how big a piece of cake is one portion of dessert?
Half the size of my hand. Also as thick as my hand.
So a half a fistful.
Yeah.
And how many ounces of chocolate could you have for dessert in terms of just pieces?
2. Let's keep it to 2. Nice even number.
So 2 ounces of chocolate.
Yeah, like 2 pieces. We have these little Nespresso squares that we get for free with our coffee, and it's a whole box of them, and I grab 2, and then I end up grabbing another 2. So I've created the barrier for myself where I grab 2, I sit on the couch, so I'm not like picking out of the box. I've already separated myself from that, but I will go back to the fridge and grab 2 more.
Okay. If you could trust yourself, I know your pig says that you can't and all types of things have happened and, it's just going to go downhill. And this is kind of silly because you're just going to blow through it. But if you could trust yourself to have no more than one portion of dessert at a social event, which means 2 cookies, a half a fistful of cake, or 2 ounces of chocolate, what might happen in, let's say, 6 months' time? The pig says this can't possibly happen, but what if it did? What if you had no more than 2 cookies or a half a fistful of cake or 2 ounces of chocolate in social events? What would be different in your life in 6 months' time?
I think that I would probably wake up the day after said social events and feel more stable, as in less inflamed. My face gets kind of puffy when I overeat, especially sugar. So I would wake up without a food hangover consistently, which would mean my athletic performance is steady and predictable. If that's the case, then I would be much happier, probably performing better. So those go hand in hand. I would probably be a few pounds lighter. Maybe I wouldn't fear the scale because I wouldn't feel so guilty because I know what I did to kind of sabotage myself. Yeah.
I know this sounds silly, but why is it important to you to wake up feeling less inflamed and puffy?
So that I can plan ahead my workouts and stick to my plan and do things that align with my goals and not give myself the ammo of excuses to not work out or to not go climbing, or maybe it would keep me from getting sick if I just eat less sugar and cause less inflammation in my body. I'm actually beating a sickness right now. I sound a little hoarse. And I kind of blame it on my nutrition last week, honestly.
Yeah, sugar does kill your immunity. It sounds like it's really important to you to enjoy your workouts. It's really a part of your identity to not just enjoy them, but plan them and feel like you're making progress. Could you talk a little bit more about that? What does it feel like when you're on track with that?
I didn't grow up athletic, so it's become very rewarding for me to have positive experiences when I'm working out. I'm kind of injury prone because I didn't grow up athletic, so it's really important for me to take care of my body for longevity. I want to be in your position when I'm your age, like still kicking butt and feeling healthy when I'm twice as old as I am now, and to be mobile and healthy and disease free. So, in order for me to keep working out, it's not just showing up on the day of your workout, it's showing up every day and taking care of yourself every day. It's drinking water every day. And when I do that for myself, and I get good performance. It's the intrinsic reward that I get, also extrinsic from my friends, my peers, my climbing community.
It sounds like it's a very centering and grounding practice for you that reassures and excites you.
Yeah.
You can craft the identity in life that you want, like you're the master of your own fate.
Mm-hmm.
That's nice that you found something that does that for you.
Yeah, that's my big why.
That's your big why. What would happen if you just kind of ignored this and let the pig do what it's been doing? What would happen not in 6 months, but in 6 years?
I would probably become too injured to climb from the inflammation and not taking care of myself and maybe not showing up to my workouts or not getting the most out of my workouts, rather, or even injuring myself during my workouts. And this has been a really hot and humid summer in the Northeast, so I haven't really climbed outside. And so I kind of have a sense of what that would be like to not be able to climb, and it's kind of sad. And I found other hobbies, but climbing is such a deep part of me at this point. I've been doing it for 8 years, so if I lost that, I would lose myself and my community. And having been away from it this summer just because of the environment, I can't imagine what it would be like if I did it to myself.
Is it fair to say that just having one portion of dessert, exactly how we defined it, but just sticking to one portion while you're socializing, can play a major role in whether you can craft the life that you want to or not?
Yeah, absolutely. It adds up because if I have too many of these portions enough times, it's just going to add up, and so will the pounds and the inflammation.
So it's not the difference between having just a little dessert or not. It's the difference between having the life you want or not.
Yeah, and that's what got me here, and I don't want to sabotage it for myself because it's been years in the making, and I just don't want to slip backwards because it hasn't been linear for me, but I want to keep it steady.
That's what we're working on. Would you like to commit to having one portion of dessert at social events exactly like we've defined it?
Yes.
Why does your pig say that this is going to go south? I want to give it all the reasons and drain it of all its energy. What are all the reasons the pig says you can't do this?
Because I am an impulsive person, self-labeled. I don't want to be, but that's just what my actions have been in the past because I've just always loved chocolate, and one more piece isn't going to make such a big difference, but one piece is going to become two pieces, and then hundreds of calories later going to get blown out of proportion.
I'm writing it all down, so we'll get back to them.
It's my all or nothing mentality that I've also worked so hard over the last couple of years, which is applicable to workouts and eating and life in general. I've tried hard to get rid of that all or nothing mentality, but it still sneaks in, which I think goes with the impulsivity. People around me who like sweets and want to see me happy, they think that sweets make me happy, and I don't want to directly blame them, but it's you've captured it well in other episodes. I'm not finding the right words for it.
People around you think that giving you sweets is the way to make you happy.
Yeah.
Is there anything else?
No.
Okay. So the pig says you love chocolate so much and one more piece won't make a difference. So you won't be able to overcome this. You won't be able to stick to this. Where's the lie in that line of thinking?
I control my actions, so if I just don't pick up another piece, it will not enter my mouth. Yep.
Right? You're in control of your hands and your arms and your legs and your mouth and your tongue. And if you don't pick it up, it doesn't go into your mouth.
Yeah.
It sounds kind of silly, but most people don't realize that the chocolate goes in your hands before it goes in your mouth. So you could look at your hands and say, sorry, no chocolate, right?
Yeah.
That's true. I have another thought about that. Could I share it with you?
Yeah. Yeah, totally.
Because you love chocolate so much, you don't want to have to give it up entirely. And in order to not give it up entirely, you have to prove to yourself that you can really control it. That becomes a reason to stick with the one serving rule.
Yeah. I did it yesterday. I feel really proud of myself. I just want to share that. I actually had half a serving yesterday. There were 2 chocolate cookies left, and 2 chocolate cookies were 1 serving. I only ate 1, just in prep for this meeting.
Beautiful. I'm glad that even making the appointment had an impact on you. The pig says that you're a very compulsive person, self-labeled. It's basically saying you're powerless over this, that you don't have the opportunity to intervene. You can't control yourself. What's wrong with that?
I do decide my own fate, and every decision I make contributes to who I am in the present and the future. So if I act on the decision that I make in the present, then I am not impulsive going forward because I can control my impulses.
You can only ever use the present moment to eat healthy. And if you eat healthy now, since the future is an infinite string of nows, then you'll always eat healthy. And your eat healthy now muscle will get stronger and stronger and stronger. So in the future, you'll be even more able to do it, not less able.
Yeah. Yeah, I think I got that idea from you. Been trying to flex it.
you can't help but have an all or nothing mentality, and eventually you'll make a mistake and just go to town. What's the problem with that?
That all or nothing is no way to live. And you can just have a little bit of something that aligns with your goals. Like you can have a little bit of yoga, just like you can have a little bit of chocolate. You can have 5 minutes of yoga and 5 minutes of chocolate. You don't have to have half an hour of yoga or half an hour of chocolate. You could just have a little bit, just a little bite, and you can stop yourself there. And maybe if I use some sort of tool like keeping my water bottle in my hand once I have had my serving, then my hand can't grab the chocolate. And I can only drink water and I'll fill up on the water.
For most people, having a little bit is actually more fun than having a whole bag.
Yeah, it starts to lose its flavor after a while.
Yeah. And you're more mindful while you're eating it, and you're not feeling terrified about what it's going to do to your body and trying to figure out how you're going to make up for it.
See, like I logically know that, but it's so hard when the other people around me are still eating it. It's like a mirror neuron thing.
Yeah. You've learned things in your life, haven't you? Like even if you look at your rock climbing, are you a more skilled rock climber today being able to do things that you couldn't do before?
Yeah.
Are there other things that you've learned over the years to do differently than you used to do when you were a kid?
Yeah.
Like walking, for example?
I would hope I'm better at walking now, yeah.
Yeah. The people around you are going to give you sweets to make you happy. You can't refuse that. What's the problem with that?
Sweets don't make me happy. They're just food like anything else. I mean, they taste good. I'm really trying to break this down. They don't actually make you happy. If you were eating chocolate alone, it wouldn't have the same impact as eating chocolate with friends or family. It's more of the sharing the moment than the actual food. But the chocolate moment with company, that's not the whole moment.
You're there to make memories and connections, and sharing sweets might be a part of that, but there's so much more.
Yeah, exactly.
The other thing that helped me with this was to say to myself that, I care about these people and I want them to live a long, healthy life. And most of our society seems to have engaged in a tacit agreement to slowly kill themselves with food while they joke it off and hide it. And if I care about these people and I don't want them to have disabilities and pain in their old age, then somebody has to go first. Somebody has to show them that it's possible to take control. Somebody has to show them that it's possible to opt out of the idea that we just always pig out when we're together. And I really do care about these people. And so that kind of puts me back in my right mind and tells me I'm going to be a leader. I'm going to be the one people can count on to hold the line and show them that it's possible. I'm not going to look to everybody else to define what I'm supposed to do. I'm going to define what's really best and let them follow me. It helps a lot.
Yeah. I feel like I had that role when I was at that job where people brought in sweets all the time. I would have like 2 bites of cake and put it away and be like, okay, I've tasted enough cake. It's not going to taste as good for the rest of the slice. Or just opt out of like the Dunkin' Donuts that I just don't think are worth it. And the coworker who's in the break room telling me about how she can't resist the donuts and I'm telling her it's not worth it. I do relate with that, definitely.
You've played that role before.
Yeah. Yeah. I feel like I've just distanced from it somehow.
How come?
I want to say because it's hard to uphold. And I don't know if I really feel that or if I've just stopped putting in the little effort that it took because I don't think it was that much effort.
Is it possible your pig says it's too hard to uphold that?
Yeah. I don't have to or I deserve it. Yeah, that BS.
Oh, there we go.
Yep.
There we go.
Like I worked out for this or like I hiked a lot yet. Like I burn enough calories. That kind of talk.
And what's wrong with that? The pig says you worked out hard enough to be able to afford this.
What's wrong with that is that I worked hard for it, so why would I now negate it? Or why would I tie my hard work to having a reward that has nothing to do with it and then negates it? They just don't relate to each other. And it's an unhealthy mindset to think that you earn food and specifically sweets.
What I deserve is to be able to be confident in my workouts and my rock climbing and my inflammation levels and the puffiness of my face. I deserve to be confident. I deserve a treat. I don't deserve to have to go through all that.
Yeah, I don't deserve to cross that line into self-sabotage and torturing myself in the future.
How confident do you feel that you can have only one dessert at social gatherings for the next couple of months, defined as you defined it?
I feel very confident. It's convenient that it is the end of the year. It's currently October, which is I no longer work at the job with tons of October birthdays, so I have that going for me. I take the opportunity to take the end of the year and also my birthday is in March, so that it's kind of extends itself until the end of my year to be my best self going into the new year and then into my new year, like my birthday, because I always want to look best on my birthday and the new year. So I think this is a really good time to get serious about it. It's also this month is peak season for rock climbing. The next 2 months are, so it's super important that I am stringent about it and that I stick to it. Otherwise, I'm just sabotaging myself for next week, which I already did because I missed out on my climbing this week because I'm sick because I didn't eat well last week. So,
You'll be better in a few days.
oh yeah, I just threw away an entire week of my life though.
That's what happens.
You live and you learn.
How confident are you that you can stick for 2 months, though? If you give me a percentage number, how confident are you?
100%.
Are you?
Yes, because I'm telling you, and I can't let you down, Glenn. And I can't let myself down.
I'm glad for that. But the purpose of the question is to see if the pig is hiding any reasons that are making you feel less than confident.
No. Yeah, the pig is being locked out of the house right now because it is crunch time. The pig is not allowed in. It has to stay outside.
Good. Do you have any questions or concerns?
No. No.
Okay.
And that brings us to the end of today's broadcast of Defeat Your Cravings, hosted by Dr. Glenn Livingston. If you'd like to find out more about the products and services Dr. Glenn offers to help you dramatically reduce your cravings and stop overeating in 90 days or less, please visit defeatyourcravingscoaching.com. That's defeatyourcravingscoaching.com. Thanks.